warm myself up. I feel like I'm gonna be Sharpay. When you work remote days and you don't speak, sitting down to chat with you all is a little hard because I'm talking to myself right now, but I'm talking to you. So, hi. I have been procrastinating this video for 2.5 weeks. I mean, I guess I had a vision, I had plans to do this after Boston regardless, of recording like a sit down chat with me, recap of the marathon. And it's been really hard to get myself to sit down and talk about it. Not because I don't want to talk about it, all I want to do is talk about it, but because this just feels more vulnerable and just more me. So yeah, I guess that's the whole point of YouTube and long form content. So anyway, I actually literally have notes to make sure that when I walk through the marathon weekend that I'm not missing anything for you all. I received such great feedback and just like response to my recap, or excuse me, my Boston recap that I did on my Substack, and I will link it here. And because of that, frankly, it encouraged me more to sit down and talk with you guys. A little more like one-to-one, sit down, chatty, yappy with me, Emma, about what I experienced in Boston. So yeah, first of all, still riding the high. It feels like forever ago, but also yesterday. And Marathon Monday was truly one of those days I wish I could bottle up and just like pull out whenever I needed a little pep and relive it again and again. I'm so thankful to have so many actually experiences and memories in my life that are like, that I want to bottle up like that. But Boston is just so fresh, and like I just want to relive that day. Honestly, no, I want to relive the weekend because again, it wasn't just about the run. It really wasn't. Anyway, so a little bit of background story. One, I have not updated my vision board yet because as you see, I really wanted to wear my medal, my beautiful medal in this video. And then I'm gonna update, but this shadow box right here is grandma's, and that was my first marathon ever a year ago. It'll be a year on June 22nd. That was the goal race to qualify for Boston, and I did. I ran a I don't even have that time on it, 3:12 something, and qualified for Boston. And so then I had a year, a little less than a year to prep. In the mix of that, I did New York, not planned, but I am on the world major track. That is a big goal of mine. So got to fundraise and do New York, and I actually did not plan, but PR'd at New York and ran a 3:07. So coming into Boston, I had an A goal of Sub-3. I worked with that with my coach, and that really came. I'm really fresh to running. So the goal was, I seemed to handle hills well in New York, hence the PR, and my fitness level is there, and I had the capability to do it. At the end of the day, it's, would I do it? You never know. There's so many variables that go into running, well, life in general. I really wanted to Sub-3 at Boston. I knew it was a tough course. Did I know it was that tough? No. But that is when being naive and having ignorance is bliss. So I ran Boston, and I ran Boston in 2 hours, 57 minutes and 22 seconds. And it was the hardest run of my life, but God, that was, I can't believe I did it. Like, I can't believe I was able to Sub-3 at, let alone Boston, just a really hard course. So, okay, I'm getting a little all over the place. Let's just walk through. I arrived in Boston on Friday. A lot of my family was there, and we had Saturday and Sunday because Boston is on a Monday. It's Patriots Day. So I had Saturday and Sunday with family and friends, and everyone in my community was there running it from Charlotte, and it was just so many wonderful things were gonna happen, just like in terms of planned. So Saturday was a big day of going to the expo, picking up my bib. You can watch, I have a vlog of like week leading up to Boston and during the weekend. So you can watch all of those clips. I'm not going to include them in this video, but Saturday was expo day for me, at least. I wanted to go to the expo. I went with 2 of my friends, and I've only been to Boston, well, once when I was little, so it doesn't count, but 2 years ago, I was in Boston for like 24 hours because I was flying in and out of Boston. We decided to stay a little bit longer to kind of explore the city. It was beautiful. We got so lucky with the weather. It was Memorial Day weekend, so it was later in May. And I remember loving Boston. At that point of 2 years ago, I hadn't even never like I didn't even sign up for a marathon. I didn't sign up for grandma's until probably like that fall of 2023. So keep that in context. Anyway. So Boston Marathon, I had no idea, like, I didn't know that everything was just like right there on Boylston, Newbury. Especially with New York, it was so much more spread out. And New York was my only like experience prior of a big race. Because grandma's was wonderful, but it's in Duluth, Minnesota, and it's just not as big, or it has like the capacity of like a world major, right? So Saturday, I was down on Boylston Street. I walked up and down Newbury, went to the expo, and like met a lot of people at different like pop-up shops, and I was with my friends, and then we had dinner in Beacon Hill. And frankly, Saturday, my social battery died. And by the end of the night, I was dead. I think I overextended myself a little bit, but luckily I was able to like go to bed early, and I woke up Sunday really refreshed. Sunday we did a shakeout run. My brother-in-law did a shakeout run at Puma. I met with the AG1 team because I am now an ambassador for AG1, and we spent a little more time down on Boylston, Newbury, because family wanted to come experience it. And then came back later to Boylston, like a few hours later in the afternoon, take a Charlotte photo because a lot of people from where I live were there. And then I went to the baseball game, Fenway Park, with my sister, brother-in-law, and stepbrother and his wife. And it was so much fun. So Sunday was also packed, and then we ended up eating dinner at a wonderful restaurant as well. Shout out Meg and Lamente for picking all my restaurants that weekend. And Sunday was a better day than Saturday in terms of like how I was feeling. And the shakeout run, my brother-in-law ended on Boylston, like by the finish line. And I remember him saying, like, just think about this tomorrow, Emma, this is your finish line. Like, you just got to sprint at the end. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to sprint at the end of Boylston. Boylston never ends, honestly. So anyway, I'm getting pretty into this. So let's go into Marathon Monday. Marathon Monday. I was in Wave 2, Crow 3. God, I actually don't remember. So my bus pickup time was at 7:30 a.m. So I was staying what I would call like the financial district of Boston. I don't know. We were kind of near Banks. Anyway, I was staying at a beautiful hotel. It was about like a 20-minute walk to the park, to Boston Commons. So that's where the buses pick you up, is in Boston Commons. I want to say it's like on Charles Street, because I stared at maps forever. Anyway, so you get picked up in Boston Commons. I ended up like halfway like Ubering and then walking a little bit once I got to Boston Commons, because like where I was coming, I was on like the other end of Boston. So I basically Ubered to like the edge of Boston Commons to save like walking, and then I walked through the park to get to the buses. And so I woke up at 6 a.m. and actually I woke up a little earlier before my alarm because I really had to go to the bathroom, which was great. Got it all out and got ready for the marathon. So I put all my gear on. At that point, because everyone was asking about this, I had my like bagel and peanut butter and honey and banana like prepped. I ate half of my first banana before I left for Boston Commons to go to the buses. And then I had my bagel with a little bit of peanut butter, because for me, a lot of that fat just upsets my tummy, with a lot of honey for all of those carbs and sugar, and then the other half of that first banana. And then I had another bagel packed that was just plain. God, can't eat another plain bagel for a while, let me tell you. And another banana. And then I had like, of course, like all of my gels. And then I had my scratch gummies that I was planning on and did eat before, like when I was like kind of like waiting in the corrals to start. So got to Boston Commons, got to the bus pickup. By then, I don't know what time it was. Let's say it's like 7. Who really cares about those details? Met my friends from Charlotte because we were all in the same, for the most part, most of us were in the same pickup bus time, and got on the bus. You were literally in the school bus, and it does in fact take an hour to get from Charles Street, or whatever it's called. I actually don't even have that confirmed. Boston Commons to Hopkinton. I thought for sure in my head, I was like, it's 40 to 50 minutes. I read a bunch of books about Boston beforehand. The way they described it, I was like, 40 minutes? Easy. No, it is 60 minutes. It's a long bus ride. But thankfully, like, I was with friends. We were chatting. Essentially, like, keeping us distracted. We weren't, like, I didn't really have time to, like, think too much about it, which was a blessing. And so, but essentially, by the time we got on the buses, got to Hopkins, got in Athletes Village, I didn't have that much time to like sit, which was great. My friend said that this year, 2025, was the most efficient because she's run it multiple times. The most efficient she's ever seen Boston Marathon like be run. So that was great for me. First time experience, I was like chilling. I was like, cool, keep it efficient. I love efficiency. So when we got to Athletes Village, you are at a high school, get off the Ledley school bus. I also was in the back row. So talk about the cool kids in the back. I was channeling that energy hard. And got into Athletes Village, immediately went to the porta potties. Didn't have to wait too long in the porta potties because we kind of found like one. Remember, do the Disney effect. Always go left when you're waiting in line. It works every time. Went to the bathroom, was feeling great, and then I had about 10 minutes before my wave opened for us to get to our corral. So, at that point, I put on my race shoes, R.I.P. my race shoes, put on my race shoes, took off my throwaway clothes, wrote my name on Casey wrote my name on my chest, wrote some other things just as a reminder as I was running, and Sharpie on my body, and then got to my corral. And essentially you are like lined up. I mean, you kind of feel like cattle, like lined up. It's not really a fence, but they do have like a gate, and then they open it up, and then you basically have, I think they say it's 0.7 mile walk to the start line. Let's just sum it up for like a mile, but you walk through the cute little neighborhoods of Hopkins, and then you get to like the last section for like porta potties and water. So I went to the bathroom again, and actually at that point I put on my race shoes. So, and then I threw away those shoes. Okay, yeah, that's what I did because I was safe. Thank God I didn't spend too much time in those shoes. And again, not waiting too long. Walked up to my corral section at the start line, started. And so also in context, my start time was 10:45. Am I making that up? 10:30? I don't even remember. Okay, it was in the 10th hour. So let's just say, no, it was 10:25, I think. That's so embarrassing. Let's just say it's 10:25 a.m. So by then, like from when I'm talking about getting on the buses, going through Athletes Village, like we're looking at 3 hours at this point. So it didn't feel like 3 hours, but it was 3 hours as I'm saying it out loud. Start. And it was right on time, and there I go, and I take off. And the beginning is very, very downhill, and I was getting nervous because before I even left for Boston, I had a chat with my coach, and she just was like emphasizing to me, don't get greedy, because to hit the goal that I wanted to hit, I couldn't get greedy in the beginning. I couldn't burn myself out because there was no way in heck that I was going to get to those Newton Hills and survive and Sub-3. So, but again, never go to Boston. It was very downhill. Like the beginning is very downhill. Thankfully, I was consistent. It's always my word going into any marathon so far. It's consistency. But I felt like I was going a little too quick. If I held myself back even more, would I have run faster? Who the hell knows? But anyway, So let's say around mile 3, that mile 3 or mile 4, there was another girl who came up to me and she was like, hey, are you trying to sub-3? And I was like, yes. And she was like, great, do you want to pace with me? And I was like, fabulous. So we hung on together for a little bit, I would say until like we got to the halfway mark around like Wesley. And honestly, like from Hopkinton to the Scream Tunnel, like with the Wesley college girls, I kind of got bored. I'm not gonna lie. And also it was so much more narrow than I anticipated, and there's so many people. I mean, it's 30,000 people, but like compared to, maybe because the roads aren't wide, it was a lot. Like it just mentally, like, you don't want to weave too much because you don't want to exert too much energy, but like there was a lot of people forever, it felt like, running together. Like it didn't spread out quickly like it did for grandmas, or honestly for me, for New York. And basically I'm just gonna say I kind of got bored running until mile 13. And then at that point, or wherever Wesley is, with all like Wesley College and the girl, the kissing and the, I think that is Scream Tunnel. I never really experienced Scream Tunnel, but they were loud. The Wesley College girls, they are loud. And that honestly brought my attention back, and I had more, like, I feel like I was like, oh, locking it. And also I knew that Newton was coming up, and Newton was what I was most nervous about. So honestly, like, nothing crazy in my head happened. I was pretty locked in until we got to Newton. At one point, like, one thing about Boston that was different than New York were the spectators, in terms of like, it was so loud. Like I don't even remember my music for the most part. It was so loud, and people were screaming my name because I had it written on my chest, like one off all the time. So much that like I had 3 people come up to me and were like running, and they were like, who are you? They were like basically like, who are you? And I was like, just another girly running, but note to yourself next time, like write your name in your chest, because I love, like, I feed off of that. It just like feels like there's more people out there that know you, that like really want you to do well. So anyway, then we get to Newton, and I'm not gonna spend too much time in Newton other than damn. It is really where the placement is of those hills, and I swear there are more hills than they tell you. And like, it's not that the elevation was anything different than I'm used to in Charlotte, because thankfully I was training a lot on hills, because Charlotte is hilly itself. Like I was used to hills, but it is where the placement is. And I like the lactic acid building up just like really like started to like get to me, and I was feeling tired. So, and I was reading that Heartbreak Hill is not really that much of an elevation gain. I think they say it's 80 feet. But by the time I got to Heartbreak Hill, I never thought it was gonna end. I saw the sign that tells you like, oh my gosh, congratulations, you crossed Heartbreak Hill. But like, it never felt like it was coming. And at that point, I was like mentally starting to be like, I knew I was going to PR, and I was like, maybe I just give up on the sub-3. I was like, I am feeling mentally like I was about to like clock out, but I didn't. And it was funny because during Newton Hills, at one point I texted my friend Pauline, and I was like, please tell me they're ending, because I swear there were more than they tell you, and they did feel steeper than I anticipated. So, but again, ignorance is bliss. And then, so after Newton though, mile 22, like I was really feeling tired, but I kept chugging. And I shared in my Substack, and I'm not going to go too much into this because I wanted to keep this much more just like basic recap, but I like really had to tap into like good things to keep myself going, like memories. And I don't know if anyone watches Harry Potter, but there's a scene where he like has to tap into like happy memories to like do the Patronus spell. I literally was doing that with like my friends and my family, and then it got to a point where I was like thinking about my mom, because she is such an inspiration to me of like, I am strong. Like, for example, like my mom passed away from cancer, and like that pain that she suffered was 10 times, 100 times worse than what I was suffering in a marathon and physically. And it was like, you know what? I can suck it up. I can do this. And I wanted it. And so I went after it. And I'm trying to think, for the most part, like the course is pretty downhill after Newton. Like they are, like that's pretty true. One thing about Boston also, it is rolling hills. Like that is the essence of the course. So you are going up and down. And I think that's why I just never experienced that sort of like fatigue in my legs and lactic acid buildup, just because you're using so many different muscles at so many different points. I will say, I also feel like I've kind of blacked out running it because I'm not remembering all the details, but I never saw Fenway Park. They say that you see it. I don't. I never saw the Cisco sign either. Talk about like me just being like, where is she? I don't know where she was. Yep, don't remember that. And then turning left on Boylston, I did see it. And I was like ready. I was like, again, I said earlier, on Sunday, I was going to sprint down Boylston. I had that vision in my head. To be fair, I had to shove a gel down my throat because I knew I needed the glucose and the carbs, but I did not want it. And I turned left on Boylston, and I had nothing to like truly sprint. I really didn't. I was consistent. Don't worry, I was very consistent. But like that like last like push urge, no. And also, you get to mile 26 marker, and that was where my family was, and it was great to see them. But then it just like, I swear that point two to Boylston, that's just like a straightaway, felt forever. And I was like, it's never gonna get here. But it did, and I crossed. And I ran 2:57.22. So, there and all is the Boston recap for you all. And honestly, like, I wouldn't want it to be any other way. I feel like I like took notes to talk about like what I wish I knew or like tips, and it's just like, just embrace what you have and just go run. I truly I love the experience of the weekend, of any race weekend or race day, and just like the endorphins and the thrill and the competitiveness. Like I was peaking. I will say, when I crossed that finish line though, it was so dramatic. I like kept saying, I'm in so much pain, but I'm just walking around. I mean, like I was in a lot of pain, but like I wasn't that, like I wasn't fainting, I wasn't collapsing. Like overall, I was fine. And then I always forget how emotional it is, or just how emotional I get, and I just wanted to cry, and not cry because of anything that was like hurting. It was just like, in moments like that, I feel so whole. Like, ooh. Oh my God, I'm getting choked up to even talking about it out loud. Moments like that, experiences like that, I just feel so whole and so with myself. And when I say that, like, in the last 7 years, it's been hard for me to have those feelings. And I feel like now I'm finally getting there to myself again. That's when I want to bottle it up. And that feeling of just like wholeness in your mind and body, and like feeling connected with not even those who love you and those who you're with in the moment, but just like so connected with yourself. Like that is a high that we all want. And that's not life. We're not going to get it all the time, but it's just like the fact that I'm getting emotional, just like wanting and feeling that again, you just can't replicate it. And it just reminds you of just like how beautiful life is and how precious these experiences are. And like at the end of the day, we're all stressed. Life is really hard, kind of sucks sometimes, but like it's what we're going, like that's what we're here for, is to have these experiences and these rich moments, and to just be with people that you love and who light you up, and just I love it. So anyway, I'm gonna cut it here because I don't even know how long this is at this point, but I'll link my Substack to read more of like recap, and I'll dive in, and that dives in a little more of like little moments that I had. But thanks for watching this little chit chat, and if you like this style of me talking, please like and comment, or tell me, whoever's watching this, if you're a friend of mine, please, because I really do like this sort of content creation, this long form. But I just never know like what resonates with people. So anyway, if you're so inclined, you can subscribe too. I'm trying to be more consistent here. So back to that word, consistency. Anyway, Boston, mwah. I love you. I love everything and everyone. So